Today we're going to talk about coin magnification. What do you actually need to be able to see a coin properly? For grading, for variety hunting, for errors and stuff like that, what do you really need? We're going to look at the different types of devices as well as the different magnifications that you should consider when you're thinking about buying magnifying instruments to look at your coins. I'm going to have some affiliate links in the descriptions for a few products that are available at affordable and reasonable prices on Amazon, but some of the items I'm going to mention today I don't get anything out of. I just really believe in the products. That's fine with me because the only thing I'm telling you about today are things that I use in the shop, things that I believe in, things I really think will benefit you and not be something that's a waste of your money. First up on the list, we're talking about loupes. And yes, I have one dangling around my neck right now because a loupe is a numismatist's best friend. It's practically a jeweler's loupe. It's a single eye magnifier that you hold up to your eye and you can look at a coin. Different loupes are made for different things. Some of them are made with higher magnification. This one happens to be one that has two different magnifiers in there. When I use the first one, it's 3 times. The second one, it's 6 times. And together, it's 9 times. Isn't that awesome how math works? If you're just trying to read what's on the coins and do basic grading of coins, this is exactly what you need. Something in the realm of 5 to 10 power. You really don't need any more than that. And I already know people are going to say, why would I stop at 10 for grading? I need to be able to see all the things on the coin that could be wrong with it. Because once you get over 10 times magnification with grading, you're looking at things that are not relevant to the actual grade of the coin. You're over grading it, you're micro grading it, whether you can see it with the naked eye or not, and a grader is not going to get that meticulous with a coin. The loupe I have around my neck right now is probably not one that you want to buy. It's a $200 loupe. It's expensive. These are not cheap loupes. It's an Eschenbach. It is made out of plastic, but the lens clarity on this is fantastic, and this particular model is very durable. For however much I love Eschenbachs, I will tell you, this is the only style Eschenbach that I've had that has not fallen apart, or that we've had in the shop. The ones that have the metal bodies to them that are equally as expensive, we've had at least 4 of them fall apart in the last 3 years. So, you know, I like the quality of the lenses. This one holds up though, and that's why I personally have one of these and not one of the metal ones. They do make one of these that's just 10 times magnification, as well as this one that is the 369 power, and both of those are really sturdy and really good loupes. However, if you don't want to spend $200 on a loupe, which is really expensive, it's way more than the other products I'm going to talk about. I've got a billion of these little things sitting around. Now this one's a little bit higher magnification. It's 16 times. So that's a little bit more than I would recommend for somebody if they're just wanting to grade coins, but it's not going to kill you to have a little bit extra. You're just seeing more of the coin than you really need if you're wanting to grade. But H.E. Harris makes loupes that are also in other powers as well, such as like 10 power and I think 6 power and stuff like that. I'll have a list of those right here. H.E. Harris loupes have been ones that we've had in the shop pretty consistently because they're affordable, they're metal, they tend to hold up. I have broken a few of them, but they're cheap enough that when I break it, I just replace it. And if I left this expensive piece of plastic in my office, I've got about a dozen of these floating around somewhere in the shop that I can find one and pick up and not have to walk all the way back to my office to get it. So these things I do use on a consistent basis, and they are very affordable. There are other companies that make similar loupes to that. You can check out like Wizard Coin Supply. I have no affiliation with them, but you can check out Wizard Coin Supply. They have a lot of options on loupes, as well as if you really need that loupe today and you can't wait to get it shipped to you or whatever it may be, your local coin shop may have loupes, as well as Hobby Lobby sells loupes, and I think this thing's like with tax like $25 at Hobby Lobby, so it's not a really bad option to do that either if you need it right away. However, I do stuff like varieties, and 9 times is not cutting it. 16 times is better, but still not enough for some of the stuff I want to see. What am I using when I'm looking at high magnification on the go? Well, you're going to think this is ridiculous, but I've got it right here to prove it. I use one of these things. They're like $7 on Amazon, and it's 30 and 60 times. They're awfully cheap. They're extremely cheap, and I've had this one for so long, you can see I've broken the light out of it, which the light's useless anyway. It really ruins your view of the coin, in my opinion. If you're looking at coins, get proper room lighting. But when the light fell out, I didn't care because I didn't use it anyway. I'll just light the higher magnification at a cheap price. And also, the thing fell apart. It used to have a little flap that went around it, so I just put a piece of wire on here and put it on this lanyard with all these stupid coin pins. There's even a Waffle House 1-year anniversary pin on here. It's really ridiculous. But this thing has enough magnification to really see something well, especially with that larger reticle. The smaller one is the more powerful one, at like 60 times I think it is, which is ridiculously close. But the problem with that is it's smaller and it is hard to see through. But with some practice and really getting used to it, I've had a lot of success with this particular loupe in spotting varieties on coins. In fact, one of my best varieties I ever found was with this guy right here at a show, and I turned a $300 coin into a $2,000 coin with that little $7 piece of junk. So I'm not afraid to tell you these things are not super high quality. I do have one linked below, but there's like 5 or 6 different people making the exact same thing. I think they just buy it from the same manufacturer and just rebrand it. But they're not great, but they're so cheap that when it breaks, you can easily replace it. And it's the only loupe I can find that goes up that high that's both affordable, accessible, and just you know, holds up at least in a capacity where you can use the darn thing. Now, if you want to go with a more quality one, Eschenbach does make a 20 times loupe. Bausch & Lomb makes a good mid-tier 20 time, but good luck finding that thing these days. You're probably going to have to find some random source or eBay. 20 times is still, in my opinion, for varieties, a little weak. It can work. You can see it at 20 times, but if you're really just getting started and really just getting used to spotting varieties, it can be just low enough to not truly be able to distinguish between machine doubling and a genuine double die potentially. There are plenty of loupes out there on the market on Amazon that are all pretty cheap. And if you're just needing a cheap loupe, you probably won't go wrong. You probably have to replace it eventually if it's cheap enough. But in general, they're all equally as mediocre, but get the job done. But these 3 are the loupes that I use, and so I can recommend those because they're ones I use every day. Next up is going to be the one that I'm sure a lot of people are really wanting to hear about, because this is something that's all the rage. And having owned 10 different coin microscopes, ones that both attached to the computer or had their own screen, ones that were less expensive and ones that were more expensive, including a Dino-Lite, the digital coin microscope that I recommend to everyone, does not exist. I don't recommend a single one of them. I used them for years, and once I realized there was something else better, I've only recommended this one thing to people whenever they tell me they want a microscope so that they can look at coins, and that is one of those guys right there. It's really true. A regular binocular or trinocular microscope like my one there, where I can actually attach a camera to it, is in my opinion the way to go. Here's a few reasons why. First of all, digital cameras on the microscope are going to yield a digital image. It's a bunch of pixels on a screen, and the ability for it to show you depth perception is all about it being able to show that color on the screen in those pixels, meaning that you don't always see whether something is in incuse or it's raised, making it to where it's really hard to distinguish some of those minute details sometimes at high magnification, making it to where it's just not clear enough sometimes to really know when you really need to know. But that's not the problem with one of those good old normal lens microscopes. It's like the difference between looking at a picture of a particular mountain range versus flying over it in an airplane and looking down on it. You don't have data that's being put on a screen in the form of pixels. You have light coming from the item through the lens to your eye, and you're actually seeing like it's just right there in front of you. It's completely different. There are a lot of options out there for microscopes, and some of them are more expensive than others. If you want to go ahead and buy something new, I have not bought one, so I can't specifically tell you from my experience, but I've had plenty of other variety hunters and dealers tell me that they have gone through Amscope to buy their microscopes, and they've actually had a wonderful experience with that. Amscope is present on Amazon, so I do have a link in the description to their general page on Amazon where you can see all the different microscopes. However, a friend of mine who does do varieties has told me that when he bought his Amscope, he went to the company and just contacted their representative, and they walked him through in figuring out which one was best for his needs and fit his budget. But new microscopes that are actually nice are not cheap. Yes, it's going to carry a higher price tag than that $70 or $80 digital microscope if you want to buy something new. But in my opinion, this is one of those buy once, cry once kind of things if you get quality and the right one the first time. because I've owned 10 different coin microscopes that I've purchased on Amazon every single time, and guess how many of them survived more than about 6 months of heavy use? None of them. That's right, at an average of probably around $40 a piece, I've owned 10 digital microscopes that none of which work today, yet that thing right there is 10 years old and still going, and I haven't even had it that long. I've been using it almost every single day for about the past 3 years, and it still works. I still have it. But there's another option out there. There's probably somebody out there on Craigslist or on eBay or somewhere selling a cheap binocular or trinocular microscope that would work perfectly fine. That's how I got that one. It was something that somebody else had, and they were like, hey, would this work for you? But buying a microscope, in my opinion, is not something you should sacrifice quality on. You can sacrifice getting something new that's quality for something used that's quality and actually save some money, but when you sacrifice quality, you'll start to notice it in the quality of the lenses and potentially in the construction of it and how long it holds up. So if you buy the right thing the first time, it's actually going to last you potentially the rest of your life. You get much more out of it than just jumping in and buying the first thing or the cheapest thing. As I said, I do have a link in the description for Amscope's page on Amazon if you just know what you're looking for. But as I also said, I would recommend contacting Amscope and figuring out what you need, and it doesn't hurt to get a quote from them. Maybe it would even be cheaper. But one last really important topic with a microscope, everybody wants to get pictures through a microscope these days, and I don't blame you. You can see so much more of the coin, especially if you're trying to sell it or show somebody what you have. As you see with my microscope, I have a camera set up with an adapter. It kind of works okay. Some of the Amscopes have a trinocular option, especially that one that already comes with the digital microscope. I wished I had that thing, but that setup is a little bit funky. I'll be honest with you. Trying to get a picture on that one with the microscope and get it to focus just right is a little weird. It's not quite the same focus as the lens that I'm looking through. And also, it's a little bit weird getting it to go to the computer and see it live. I can't do that. However, with the Amscope options, that is an option. As well as, there's another way that's absolutely free, if you have a phone that is, that you can get pictures with a microscope. With how many different cameras are on phones, this can have mixed results depending on what kind of phone you have. But if you can actually get the camera to focus through the microscope at the item, it's already magnified before it's getting any kind of digital processing done to it and being digitized. So you've already got the magnification, and you're getting a really nice high-definition picture of the magnified coin through the microscope. And if you think I don't do this myself, here's a picture of a double die I just took with my phone through my microscope without having to do anything except for just get it in the right spot looking through the lens. Oh, sorry, not that one. I meant this one. Pretty good, huh? All that being said, thank you all for watching the video. If this did help you out, I would greatly appreciate a like. And if you want to see more videos like this where I talk about really useful supplies for the hobby, be sure to hit the subscribe and notifications buttons below so you'll be notified when I post new content. Thanks for watching the video, and good luck in finding that perfect magnification for what you need.